Good evening. I'd like to call this evening's planning board meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of July 10th, 2025. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from July 10th?
I wasn't there, so I'm going to abstain from consideration.
Move approval?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Next, we have review and sign bills. We do have a couple of bills this evening. I'll just quickly run through them. First one is for Graves Engineering for 297 Cherry Street in the amount of $249. Another one for Graves Engineering at 334 Grafton Street for $634.50. Graves Engineering for 3369 Green Street for $166. Bowman for 3369 Green Street for $865. Bowman for 3369 Green Street for $1,795. Graves Engineering for 377 Holden Street for $166. Bowman for 377 Holden Street in the amount of $2,812.50, and Bowman for 377 Holden Street in the amount of $9,800, totaling $16,239.01. Any questions, comments on the bills? If not, can I get a motion to approve these bills?
Move to authorize the expenditures as read by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, next, just board member comments. Matt, anything?
None at this
No.
time, no.
Dino? Parna?
No comment.
Steve?
No comments.
Good,
No comments.
all right. Let's turn it over to Chris.
No staff comments this evening.
Okay. All right, we'll go into the meetings and hearings portion of the evening. First item on the agenda, proposed parking and detention system modification de minimis change request for 50 Centec Boulevard LLC. Good evening.
Good evening. John Perry with Langen Engineering, representing the applicant. I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me for a moment. There we go. Okay. So I'm here on behalf of Prologis, the applicant, for the UPS project on Tech Boulevard. We have a submission in for a de minimis change request for the project. And essentially, there's two things that we want to discuss. One is the reserve parking, and the other one is the underground detention system. If you recall, in the approved drawings from last October, they were dated October 25th, 2024, which was the approved drawings that are on record with the decision for the project. There were 140 total reserve parking spaces shown on the site plans. So we had, this is the employee parking for the site. We were originally proposing to construct 830 parking spaces, and we had 140 in reserve overall. I don't have the breakout of what's just in Shrewsbury versus what's just in Grafton here. But shown here in blue is what we had in reserve. That's 140 total spaces. We're requesting to, well, we'd like to go ahead and build those now with the construction project that's occurring now. There was at one point a plan to maybe just build those in the future, realizing that's going to be a lot more challenging to build those once we have an occupied site and there are actual employees on site every day driving around the parking facility. So we're requesting to build those now, and essentially what we've submitted is just the engineered drawings for this. As what with our original submission, it was just the site layout for the reserve parking. It wasn't the final grading and construction detail. So on this next page here, that is the finalized site layout plan for the reserve parking. As you can kind of see them there, really there's only, I'm gonna go back to the plan here. Really in Shrewsbury, it's just these few in the top right corner here. Here you can see. So there's a small retaining wall that we'll be installing just based on the grading and everything. Just to kind of complete the picture here, and this is more Grafton, so it's more for context, I guess, but in the southern portion here, we had a surface basin for stormwater. As now we have parking over it, we're gonna go underground with that detention volume or infiltration volume. That was all planned out in the original stormwater submission. It was all reviewed and approved by Graves. Again, this is just kind of the final detail for it. All of the impervious area was accounted for in our original design and stormwater plan, so there's really no change, just wanted to present this. I kind of refer to them as an updated plan set, essentially. The next thing is, this is obviously the warehouse area of the site. We had 2 underground stormwater detention systems on the approved drawings, shown here in blue. And those were proposed to be 6-foot diameter solid wall pipe systems. So they're not for infiltration, they're just to detain stormwater, to hold it back and slowly release it. What the contractor has proposed just a slight variation of that. We're still proposing the exact same location, the exact same, essentially the exact same volume, which will function the same way. It's just a different product. So this is what was detailed in our approved submission, just that 6-foot diameter solid wall pipe system, and then this is the product that we are intending to use. It is arch chambers. Apparently it's a little easier to procure, a little easier for them to install. I think they'll go a little quicker as well. And so usually these are designed to infiltrate, but we don't want to infiltrate, so we're going to put a liner, a PVC membrane on the bottom and the sides and over the top. So it's a completely wrapped impermeable system, so we can hold water in there. Again, we've modeled it, rerun all of the stormwater calculations, and have proven that it's a equivalent system.
Is it equivalent to, for maintenance purposes as well? Like, do you think that there'll be more maintenance, less maintenance, same for this
Maybe
type
the
of
same.
system? Okay.
Yeah. There shouldn't be a whole lot of maintenance needed, because
Sure,
we're
right.
cleaning the stormwater so well before it gets in there, but there will still be inspection ports and ports to kind of vacuum, jet wash the units if needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, great. Any board member questions or comments on these
Just a
changes? Sure.
Quick question. So these 6-foot diameter pipes or storage areas, if they were originally designed for not infiltration purposes, I'm assuming that that's for some type of temporary storage, and then they'll be transported or moved to some other location where there will be infiltration, right?
So the overall project has multiple infiltration surface basins,
Yeah.
bioretention areas. In the employee parking lot, there are those arch chambers that do infiltrate. These particular ones here, so we're getting all of our recharge and infiltration via all those other, ponds and everything. You can see, one of them here. The other ones are just off screen. These two in particular, we didn't want to infiltrate there because they're in areas of fill, and we just didn't want to introduce water. We didn't want to saturate the fill. We didn't want to create like hydrostatic pressure issues with retaining walls and things like that. So we try to keep our infiltration more in like the natural existing grade areas of the site.
So, if you don't want the infiltration from these devices, why are you even going for something that was designed for infiltration and then again going with a additional membrane or some type of plastic membrane to close up that infiltration aspect, you know? I mean, why can't you go with something that doesn't originally was not designed for infiltration purposes? The bottom line here is, if it was designed originally for that purpose, why create a situation where if the liner leaks, it may be infiltrating? Not that it's going to cause any major problem, but just trying to understand that part of it, you know?
Well, actually, even the solid wall pipe, it's specified to be quote unquote watertight, but
Yeah.
anything that is watertight also has an allowable leakage rate to it. So it's not like it's 100% watertight. It's just we're trying not to introduce water to the maximum extent we can to the surface, to the soil below.
Yeah.
So even the solid wall pipe will probably have some leakage to it. The membrane systems are tried and true. They're used for retention ponds. They're used like at golf courses and things like that. And the interesting thing with these liners that they're proposing too is they don't come in like sections and you seam them together. It comes as one huge liner, you know, they manufacture. So there are no seams in it. You know, I guess theoretically you could get little tiny punctures here and there, but we're okay with that because we're really just trying to limit water intrusion to the soil below. And in a storm event, so these are detention, right? So they fill up briefly, and then there's an outlet pipe to them, an outlet control structure, and then within a certain amount of time, they dry out. All the water flows through the pipe and discharges to the end of the pipe.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other member questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. No?
Okay. Chris, do you have anything from the town's perspective? Okay. All right, so I think we need to entertain a motion on this de minimis change request.
I move that we consider proposed parking and detention system modification as a de minimis change.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
thanks. Next item on the agenda is the proposed common drive special permit for 29 Hill Street. They have requested a continuance for this evening. So the next item on the agenda is the proposed ooh, sorry, thank you. That has, 29 Hill Street has requested a continuance to our next meeting, which is
September 4th.
Thursday, September 4th.
Thursday, September 4th. Is there a motion to continue?
Move to
This-
continue September 4th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, okay. Next up, the proposed battery storage facility site plan approval from Polito Development Corporation. This is a new public hearing for 297 Cherry Street.
The Shrewsbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday evening, August 7th, 2025, at 7 p.m. in the Select Board's hearing room at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, to hear the application of RWE Clean Energy, 100 Summit Lake Drive, Suite 210, Valhalla, New York, 10595, as required by the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7F and Section 7R, for a site plan approval by the Planning Board to allow for the construction of 2 5-megawatt battery energy storage facilities and associated infrastructure. The proposed layout plan is shown on a plan accompanied by the application that is named Selco Battery Storage Site Plan Review, dated June 30th, 2025, prepared by Langen Engineering, 100 Cambridge Street, Suite 1310, Boston, Mass. 02108. The subject project is located at 297 Cherry Street, southerly of Hartford Turnpike and west of Centec Boulevard, and consists in whole or in part of Shrewsbury's Assessor's Tax Plate 48, Plot 003000. A copy of the application and plans may be seen in the office of the Planning and Economic Development Department at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass., and on the Planning Board website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/ongoing projects.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. My name's Greg Carey. I'm a Senior Manager of Project Development for RWE Clean Energy. To my right is David Rains, Senior Director of Health, Safety, Security, and Environment. To my left is John Perry, Associate Principal at Langen Engineering. And I think joining remotely, if I'm not mistaken, is Gavin Nagel, our Senior Director of Project Engineering at RWE Clean Energy. As stated, we're before you tonight to ask for your approval of our site plan approval application for a battery storage project at 297 Cherry Street. We've prepared a project overview, a presentation, if I may. I'd like to go through it. If at any time you have questions, please feel free to stop me and ask anything you'd like. So the property that's being developed is owned by Polito Development Corporation. It'll be leased to RWE Clean Energy. The property is zoned limited industrial and requires site plan approval by the planning board. This project will be owned and developed by RWE. 100% of the energy will be used by Selco. The system size is approximately 10 megawatts. The batteries will provide Selco with clean energy to meet peak demand periods from its customers. RWE is a 125-year-old global independent power producer and leader in the clean energy space. We're the third largest owner and operator of renewable energy assets in the United States. RWE has approximately 20 operating projects, solar battery storage carports in Massachusetts, including one that you're probably familiar with off of Route 20. RWE's team includes 2,000 employees in the United States. We own and operate more than 170 facilities in 24 states and has over 4 gigawatts of projects under construction. RWE was awarded top performer for battery storage by the Connecticut Green Bank in 2022 to 2023, and named Energy Company of the Year 2023 by S&P Global Community Insights. The battery storage project that's being developed is being developed in conjunction with Selco, and it'll support Selco's goal of providing clean and reliable energy to the community. The project will consist of 6 Tesla Megapack battery units, which will charge and dispatch power to and from the grid by Selco. Battery storage provides stability to the grid by dispatching power to meet peak demand periods, such as heat waves during summertime, and is a source of power during grid outages. The battery system will be monitored on a 24/7 day-a-week basis. The equipment can be shut down remotely, and as David will discuss later on in the presentation, and as discussed with the fire chief during our meetings, the fire department and the town will be provided with an emergency management and fire safety plan prior to the system becoming operational. The batteries that we're going to be using are Tesla Megapack 2XLs. There will be 6 of them located on the site. The dimensions are roughly 5 foot wide, 29 feet long, and 9 feet height. And as you can see on the site plan that John will review with you, it's surrounded by a chain link fence that's locked with appropriate signage. I've also included in the presentation an illustration of the Tesla Megapack and an illustration of a battery that we installed at UMass Amherst. So with that, unless you have questions, I'll ask John to discuss the battery site plan.
Okay, so the site is on the corner of Centec Boulevard and Route 20. Here shown on the right-hand side. So the address is listed as 297 Cherry Street. It's about a 1.8 acre property, so it's really the really southern half of this. This used to be one, lot here. It's been subdivided essentially in half. So it's really the southern portion from about where this yellow pin is down to Cherry Street here. It's currently undeveloped land, partially vegetated, partially gravel area. So on the left-hand side of the screen here is the site. So again, this is just the southern portion that I just described to you. Again, this kind of bottom here is Cherry Street. This is Centec Boulevard here. So we're proposing, as Greg mentioned, 6 battery units shown in these darker gray rectangles here. So those are the concrete pads they'll sit on. There's 4 transformers associated with them and some just electrical equipment, switch gears, and what have you. The entire area will be enclosed with a chain link security fence, 8 foot tall for security. The ground surface will be crushed stone, so highly permeable surface. There'll be just one access point off of Centec Boulevard with a curb cut here into the site. We've discussed that with the fire department for their access. We've run truck turning for fire, the fire apparatus to get in and out of there, and they're satisfied with that. Again, we are zoned limited industrial. The battery storage is a by right use. We are meeting all of the setbacks, so we're exceeding those setbacks. In fact, we're required to have a 30-foot front yard setback for the battery storage units and a 15-yard side setback shown in this dashed, longer dashed dotted line here. And in fact, we went a little bit more conservatively, and we held our perimeter fence to those setbacks, where you could probably interpret that as the batteries themselves, but we wanted to make sure we were overly conservative if possible. So just a few kind of view shed areas here that we thought were important to show. This is the view of the site as you're driving southerly on Centec Boulevard. You can see, just for context, in the background of this photo here, that's the fire station. So Cherry Street's kind of right there after that yellow sign. So the driveway curb cut would be kind of in here somewhere between these utility poles. We are actually, it'd be a little bit more southern here. We're proposing, there is some existing vegetation. We're proposing to leave as much as we can to get that curb cut in there. But also we want to try to screen the batteries from kind of the view as you're driving down Centec Boulevard. So we have proposed 5 evergreen type trees there. We have a couple of eastern red cedars and some white pines there. And there's another view from Cherry Street. So approximately from, you can kind of see Cherry Street here from the corner of the last residential house, plus or minus, is where that photo is taken from, looking back towards the site. I think it's nice to show that there is large vegetation, existing trees, shrubs, and growth that won't be touched at all. As you can see, the battery storage facility is strategically tucked toward the northern portion of this site. Keep it as far away from Cherry Street and maintaining that vegetation. We're about 300 this shows 352 feet from the nearest house. That's the corner of the fence. It's really about 400 feet to the battery itself. So Just to touch on, stormwater, we discussed this with Graves Engineering, and they've issued a peer review letter stating that we've met all of the applicable stormwater standards. We took a little bit of a holistic approach to the stormwater model. We didn't just analyze our half of the overall site, because the topography does go northerly to southerly. And we also went back a few years to look at existing conditions, because there used to be some houses and barns and things of that on that site. So actually Graves had suggested we look at a little more of a historical kind of pre-existing condition to model our existing stormwater flows. So that's what we did. So we went back to about 2007 or so, before there was demolition on the site. Total model area was about 4.5 acres. There was about just over an acre of impervious area previously. Again, it kind of flows from a northerly to southerly direction, and essentially discharges to just the street down this area where it would kind of overflow and continue on. Under our proposed conditions, we ran an identical model. We modeled the new battery storage pads, crushed stone, and there's also a stormwater basin out there now that was installed around the time when the demolition of these buildings was completed. So we modeled the stormwater basin in our stormwater model, and also found that we are actually reducing impervious area almost by half. So we went from 44,000 square feet of impervious to 25,000 square feet of impervious, and we have the stormwater basin that we're using for detention and infiltration, and the discharge point is identical, and we've reduced peak flow rates. We're achieving our infiltration that we need to, based on the little bit of impervious coverage we are creating, and we've accomplished our suspended solids and phosphorus removal and all the applicable stormwater standards as documented in Graves' peer review letter. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to David now.
I'm gonna stand up, I think better. Thanks for your time. My name's David Rains. Like I said, I'm Senior Director of Health and Safety for RWE. Been in renewals about 12 years. But my kind of claim to fame is I've been in the fire service for 40 years now. I'm currently the Chief of Special Operations about 40 miles north of New York City. So I run the hazmat team, technical rescue and whatnot. I'm a fire protection engineer by training. I'm going to talk really, before I get into what you see there in the bullet points, just want to talk about the batteries a little bit. So the batteries that are being proposed here are Tesla Megapacks. Why is that important? So these are the newest generation batteries, and we've taken out, not we, but Tesla has taken out, and I say we, the industry, we've removed the cobalts and the magnesiums and some of the nasty metals that were originally part of the lithium ion batteries. So these are lithium iron phosphate. So very efficient batteries, and they're also very stable. So the chemistry, without those ferrous metals, so back in the day, let's go 10 years ago, these batteries ignited at very low temperatures. So if they went into a thermal runaway, if there was any kind of failure, they ignited at about 200 degrees F, which isn't a lot, considering we build these things in Nevada where it's 120 degrees on the ground on a good day. So now with this chemistry, very, very stable, these things, in the lab setting, and I'll talk about how we do that, it takes about 1,200 degrees F to ignite them with a torch. The design criteria says they ignite between 700 and 800 if there's a failure. Now, of the thousands we have out there, we've had no failures, okay? We've had no failures because these things have battery management systems and thermal management systems. So the systems that we've seen fail in California and other places that are 7 to 10 years old don't have those battery management systems and thermal management systems. They're racks of batteries that are charging and discharging, and when they fail, they fail. With these, we're monitoring 14 points on these batteries. We're monitoring the temperature, we're monitoring discharge, charge, resistance, battery health, and each individual cell is monitored. So if there's an anomaly, it shuts down automatically, sends notification to our techs. And here in Shrewsbury, we've been operating a solar plant for, I don't know how many years, but I've been out there numerous times. So we have trained technicians that are not only taking care of the solar plant, but they'll support Cellco with this operation. So that's a huge plus. So I really like the Tesla batteries as a firefighter, very reliable. And again, the stability of them is phenomenal. We've had, again, of all that are out there throughout the 40 states we operate in, we've had no failures of the Tesla units. So a little bit of alphabet soup and some technical data. So this is designed to the latest versions of NFPA 55, which exceeds the Massachusetts fire codes, the International Fire Code, Chapter 12. And we talk about NFPA, the National Fire Protection Deflagration Control System, meaning that the box has exhaust system that in the event there's a catastrophic failure, which we've never had one, but in the event, it will open panels at the top and release any buildup of hydrogen gas, which is created when batteries fail. So that's automatic. The system's tested to UL 9540, which means they make it, they catch it on fire, they let it burn, and it has to not propagate. It can't start jumping battery to battery. We can't have this big ball of flame. So it passes all those tests. It has, like I said, a battery management system. So within each of the 6 boxes, it has its own brain. So every one of the containers has its own brain, and that's called the battery management system. Multiple points, like I said, system shutdown well before any potential thermal runaway event. This is not a walk-in container, so we're not putting anyone in harm's way. These are doors around the outside. You open the door, and it's racks. It's plug and play on the battery. So if we have to replace batteries, it's plug and play. We show up with a battery. We remove the old. We take it off site. We don't do any maintenance, any work on batteries on site ever. That happens elsewhere. Not in Shrewsbury. Not that goes back to the OEM or back to a Tesla shop. So we don't do any of that kind of work on site. I talked about the active ventilation with the fire department. So I met with Chief Weigold on July 9th. We had a really good meeting, went over kind of emergency action planning, site layout, and then this morning I met with Chief Colby, and we got deeper into it. And what we're doing is we're developing a site-specific emergency services response plan, excuse me, in line with the Shrewsbury Fire Department standard operating procedures. So we do this for every site, whether it's wind, solar, battery, or combination. We meet with the fire department and we build out an emergency plan specific to how they operate. In this case, we have a firehouse which is several hundred feet from the site. We have 2 fire hydrants within 300 feet. And we talked about access with the site plan, staging area for the apparatus. And again, historically, with the 170 sites that we have across the United States, fire department doesn't come to us very often. This is very, very similar to a substation or a switch yard. Again, fire department doesn't go running in. If, in the unlikely event, a battery was to fail, we let it self-consume. We don't put water on it. We don't create a mess. We don't create runoff. We cool the adjacent units. The fire department cools the adjacent units, and we let it self-consume. And what happens is, and we've seen this during the 9540 testing, it melts out. It's 90% plastic. When you open it up, it's a lot of plastic, and the battery pouches are dry cells. There's no liquid electrolyte to leak out, and it just melts down. We're going to provide training. I guess there's 4 different groups within the fire department rotation, so we're going to do the training 4 times initially before the batteries arrive here. So each of the fire department groups that rotates will go through the same training, and then we're going to train the 2 fire captains who are the training officers to be able to do a train-the-trainer as you get new firefighters or people get promoted or whatnot. So we do that, and that's a normal course of business for us at RWE. There will be Knox box access. In that Knox box, which is a box specifically keyed to Shrewsbury, fire department will be able to go up to the gate, open the box. In the box will be call sheets to get a hold of our technicians, will be as-built drawings, 1-line diagram, So both Selco and the fire department will have an understanding at 24/7 of what's going on, plus they'll have that call list in the event they have to reach somebody.
Next slide.
Great. And again, I already said, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's no different than an energized substation. It's a defensive thing, it's stand fast. We'll send one of our technicians out, we'll figure out what's going on, and we'll come up with a plan. If there's ever a brush fire in an area that either starts inside or outside, and there's really not going to be any brush within the fence line, it's going to be all crushed stone. But if that's fought normally, you can throw water on the boxes. They're designed for the weather. We went over that with the fire department. The best operations personnel will manage opening any batteries. We're not asking anybody from the town of Shrewsbury or from the fire department or any first responders to open up any boxes. That'll be done by Selco or RWE personnel. The chief said, ask any special equipment. No, we already have thermal imaging cameras on the fire trucks, portable fire extinguishers, and then, of course, their breathing apparatus to support any kind of a major emergency. We talked about medical emergencies. We're going to do training in the event, God forbid, somebody gets hurt, has a heart attack, gets stung by a bee, needs EMS. We're going to talk about how to safely go in and extract. This is a very small site. Typically, we're building 80 or 90 or 100 of these batteries within an enclosure. This is only 6. So we'll be able to go in and do that extraction, especially the way the site plan is, because the open area is towards the front, towards that access point. Very little maintenance here. It gets checked on regularly, but this is not an active maintenance. There's not a lot of moving parts. So there shouldn't be activity in and out of there, at least other than calibration and some testing. I said a lot. Questions? Concerns?
I do have questions, but maybe if there's more to it, we can just,
No,
we'll cover it all at the end.
okay, that's
I
really,
think I'm the closer here.
that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so that's everything.
yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'd like to open it up to members of the board first, to see if there are any questions, comments from the board.
I do.
Pardon, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a couple questions. To start with, do you have a similar sized facility in this area or in this state anywhere else?
The closest site, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, is at UMass Amherst. We have the Tesla batteries on campus at 2 different parking lots of the campus. That's the closest to here.
In terms of the size, it's pretty much 6.
Yeah, it's 2 boxes in 1 box, where this is 6 boxes, but it's the same battery,
Same technology.
same technology.
And how long has that been in operation, and were there
2
any?
2 years?
I think,
2 plus years?
yeah, 2023?
Yeah, 2023 we commissioned it.
So just 2 years, yeah. I know Massachusetts encourages this alternative energy storage or production facilities. I was wondering if you are going to be applying for any state grants of any sort. The reason I'm kind of asking that is, if you apply and get, are going to apply for any state grant, then there's other process like MEPA, you may need to apply and get okay on that end. So I was wondering.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to apply for any state funding.
State or- Okay. Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. Tim, do you have some questions?
Just a couple questions in regard to the parcel itself, 297 Cherry Street. Part of it is rural B district. How did it wind up being exactly 80,000 square feet for this project?
Well, the larger parcel was subdivided into 2 parcels, and each of those parcels, I believe, are about the same size, about 80,000 square feet. So they basically took the bigger parcel and cut it in half.
Okay. But 297 Cherry Street is more or less 2.11 acres? And if the project is 1.8 acres, as it states on the memorandum, 1.8 plus or minus is less than 80,000 square feet. So I'm just curious how this parcel how Mr. Holmes did this so that it meets the requirements of Table 2. I don't know if that's a question through the chair for Mr. McGoldrick or the applicant.
Yeah, the property was subdivided by Polito Development Corporation.
So is the entire parcel now at 297, 1.8? Or it's more, it's gotta be more than that, right?
It's 80,000 square feet. My math's not great.
You can pull up the full set here, just give me,
I know I'm splitting hairs here, I'm just trying to figure out how it meets the requirements of Table 2,
just give me a moment, I can pull up the full.
the minimums.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just pulling up the full plan set here as opposed to.
The most recent A and R when it was subdivided, they're calling lot 100R, which is the remaining parcel, not this, is 93,554 square feet, 2.147 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And lot 101R, which is this parcel, is 80,028 square feet, 1.837 acres. That's from the most recent A&R
Okay.
plan and survey.
Does it matter, Chris, that part of it is in rural B and not limited industrial district? Or is that a moot point? In other words, a portion of the minimum size of 80,000 square feet is in rural B, which would require another special permit. But is it a moot point?
So the parcel is, there is a provision that you can move the, zoning into the, rural portion for at least 30 feet.
So it makes it.
It does.
In that regard. And what allowed it to be not 50 on the front, rear, and side here? Were there 15 side and 30 front?
That's the existing zoning, those are the setbacks.
Okay,
Existing zoning.
all right. Even though limited industrial is 50, but. So, I think all my points are moot.
Yeah, I think the setbacks for the battery storage specifically is what I had presented earlier.
Right. It's clear on the plan. But I'm just curious how it's 15 and 30, where the Table 2 states 50. I know there's some asterisks and a 14 there, but, okay.
Sorry, so the setbacks for the battery energy storage are table 2, so the setbacks is provided in the battery energy storage section of the bylaw.
Different table. Okay, thank you.
Other question?
No?
Okay. I have a couple of questions related to kind of like the operations, the batteries and whatnot. So we had heard you say that it is going to be 24/7 monitored. Can you kind of explain a little bit about how that is monitored? Is there some type of an alarm system that goes off in the event of something? Like what are we
Absolutely.
looking at?
Do you want me to speak to that?
Please.
Sure. So, the battery system through the brain, or the battery management system, will communicate out through SCADA, through fiber. Communicate, and the SCADA system is how we monitor all our facilities. Okay, in this particular case, we'll have Tesla. Tesla monitors all their batteries. So it'll go out to Tesla and they monitor their batteries. more importantly, we're gonna monitor that at our remote operations center, so it goes out via fiber through the internet. And at our remote operations center, which also is backed up at what they call the switch, we monitor the batteries where it's a manned, looks like this, it's a manned center, and it has all the screens, and we look at all the outputs, so we can look at, is it operating, what's the temperature, what's the battery state of charge, which is important, is it charging, is it discharging? Because Cellco is gonna control the charge and discharge, as they need it to support the grid. So that monitoring happens through what they call a SCADA system. And that comes out of each of the brains of the battery. So in the event we were to lose communications, it shuts down, it goes safe, right? So in the event storm, they lose communication, it goes to a safe state, and then that initiates a response by our operations folks to go out and determine, is it something on our end, is it something on the fiber, or something else?
Is there visual monitoring that is also done, or is it just all,
I don't think we have cameras here, gentlemen?
No, there are no
I don't
cameras
think there's
planned.
cameras here
okay,
on the site.
okay. And in the event, so I understand that there's alarms that are going off on the computer systems that are monitoring this. Is there any type of detection system, be it a light, an alarm of some kind, that should alert the surrounding neighborhood, or?
There's no external bells and whistles.
No.
They also, I left out, Chairwoman, that our technicians will also receive it on their phone. Or just like they do with the solar farm down the road. If there's any anomaly at the solar farm, they receive that. So they're, knowing that they're already within 30 minutes, they'll receive those alarms as well.
Okay. Please stop me if there's other questions. I don't want to monopolize anything here, but when you say that these are relatively new types of batteries and that have improved over time, how often are you seeing, or could we be seeing, these batteries being replaced? And what is that process look like? I can only imagine that as time goes, the science behind these batteries becomes more efficient and safer, et cetera. How often would we potentially be seeing these replacements, and would there be additional training that would need to be done once these are replaced, just so that we can make sure that the fire department is also brought up to speed as technology increases?
Those are all great questions. So life expectancy on these batteries is 15 years, okay? But we're looking at state of charge and the reliability of the battery. So if that drops down, no different than the solar panels we have around the corner that we thought were gonna last 30 years, we started to see them tail off, and so we do replacement, one-to-one replacement. With these, it's a modular setup, so we would pull the rack and replace the rack. It's plug and play. Now, these Megapack XLs that have been around 5 to 7 years, we haven't had any where we've had to go in. Like I said, of the hundreds, that we haven't seen that drop in that efficiency. So I don't have a history to say, hey, typically it's this, but because we're monitoring it, state of charge and the reliability of the battery. In the event there's a bad rack, a bad module, or something that's not meeting the criteria, again, we shut it down and it's a plug and play. Now, as far as the change in technology, I don't anticipate a change in technology with the Tesla Megapacks where we're gonna have to go in and change it out or do it. I mean, this is a system that is pretty basic. It's a charge and discharge type thing. We're never going to go to 0. We're never going to go to 100. It operates between 15 and 85%, and that's where it stays safe. You never charge it. You never drop these batteries down. It's designed that way. It won't operate below those thresholds. With the fire department, so we're going to continue. We're going to retrain every year. So the agreement with the fire department is, like anything else, any kind of a emergency action plan, It should be reviewed every year. Has anything changed? Did we build something next? Not we, but was something built next to it? Was something built across the street? Did a hydrant move? Did something else happen? Did it change the traffic pattern? And we look at all of that. Did they close a firehouse? Did they, we have to now come from Station 1 instead of Station 4. So we review that each year, and that's why we're gonna train the captains. Once we train all 4 crews, and if 4 crews become 6 crews, as Shrewsbury grows, then we'll train 2 more crews. We're gonna be embedded in this as a partner with Selco. We're embedded in the community just like we are with the solar. So I anticipate, as we do, because we do emergency action planning every 3 years on the solar. So we come back, we have the fire department walk through. So when we change some panels out at the Shrewsbury solar, we had them come out, they walked through, they took a look. We had a 1 year, I think a few years ago, it was really dry. We were worried about brush fires. We had them come out. We talked about how we could do some improvements there on both sides of the fence. So we're already embedded, which is really good here, for all parties. This isn't a community new to us. But I can tell you that with the ESRP, the Emergency Services Response Plan, it will be reviewed annually, and that's something that the deputy chiefs will drive.
Okay, great. 2 more questions, I promise.
Sure. This is what we're here for.
In terms of, because this is obviously new to Shrewsbury, in the other communities that you've worked in with these types of battery storage facilities, are there known kind of buffers that are kind of installed? Like what's the
100
typical
feet.
that is 100
100 feet is typically, I think we're almost 400 feet in this case to a residence.
2 residents.
To a residence, yeah. So typically to any structure, we make sure that we're at least 100 feet.
Okay. Final question is related to noise. What is the noise considerations that are coming off of these units? And is there anything that needs to be kind of considered as part of this overall plan?
Yeah, we had an engineer look and do a sound assessment, and basically, they're saying that we'll be able to comply with the bylaw. The bylaw does state that you have to comply with noise regulations. Noise generated from the batteries are mostly from the fans that operate. And at the closest distance of 352 feet, given the vegetation buffer, we don't expect that there'll be any sound impacts to any of the residential neighbors. It's an industrial area, lots going on. It's a busy intersection. So we don't think there'll be any impacts from these batteries to the neighbors.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Chris, are there items from you?
No, the applicant has worked really diligently, as expressed, to work with the municipal departments. We do have prepared a draft decision for the board this evening, if they're prepared to take that action. In that decision, we've outlined some robust conditions related to some of the items that were discussed this evening. Of note, we're also requesting that the applicant, or adding a condition requesting the applicant conduct a neighborhood outreach meeting prior to the actual construction, which would be a process to kind of meet with the community and address those concerns, similar to the presentation that was provided this evening, but just reiterate some of that information, provide that touch point. With that, I think we're fairly confident in this project moving forward, so.
Okay.
Sure, quick
Yes.
question. Just follow-up question for Chris. I know the fire department is probably the next door neighbor. Did they provide any comments at all on this project in terms of their ability to respond? Not that big a deal, but if they need to, or did they review or provide any comments at all?
Yeah, so there were comments that were provided through the permitting system, permitting process, and as mentioned, the applicant has met with both the chief and the deputy chief, and my understanding is that, there's a robust plan in place, and as part of our conditions, we are requiring the emergency management plan as was stated. So we've memorialized a lot of that discussion and those requirements in our conditions, so.
This is a public hearing, so I'd like to just open it up to members of the public. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter this evening? Come on up.
Should we move out of the way?
No, they can use the podium, that's fine.
Jadine Garnett, 43 LeBlanc Road. I have a clarifying question for Mr. Rao's question. I don't think it was answered. The other similar battery, similar size setups that you have, he asked if there's been any problems with those. I don't think that question was answered. If there's been any problems with any of the other units.
Sure, I'm
Maybe
sorry.
ask.
I thought I had, no, ma'am,
Maybe I just didn't.
No, I'll
Okay.
clarify. It's a great question. We've had no documented problems with the Tesla Megapacks at any of our installations. It's the most robust product that we use. We have it in very, very, very hot environments, very, very cold environments. And we have had no issues at all with them, no documented issues, neither of any of the other projects that I'm involved with outside of this group. This is not, and this is a system that Selco has selected. It's the Cadillac of battery storage systems. So, and that's why I can stand up there as a firefighter and really feel confident in it.
Great.
Okay.
Two more through you,
Sure.
Madam Chair. Will this be replacing the peaker plant up by Home Depot? And how much of it will we be relying on this system as opposed to the peaker plant? Is that in essence what this will be doing? And
So, I can't speak to Selco's operations, which are the peaker plant. That would be a separate process from this, to the extent that it provides similar services of peak operations service that may be a consideration, but I don't want to speak for Selco.
Okay.
okay, so that's not what this is for, to replace that?
That would have to be something that's not the purview of this board. It would have to be
Okay,
through
I
Selco.
thought, I thought that's what this was for. And do we have a cost, what this is gonna cost us for a tax? An idea to the taxpayers?
There should be no cost there.
There'll be no cost to taxpayers.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Mr. Dupre.
Good evening. Krista Dupre, Candlewood Way. I definitely appreciate the speaker before and definitely members of the board, because you read my mind on many of the questions you've asked already. I have seen the letter regarding there are concerned residents. I am not a butter, but I can absolutely empathize with their concerns. And my more specific questions are in regards to what happens at end of life, just like you've been talking about when the solar panels finish up their end of life and how the replacement goes. In addition to, with the technology, would height ever be increased of the batteries? I don't know. This is definitely not my domain of expertise. I only know other power sources by osmosis at home. What happens to the land at the end of life if this is not a suitable location, if the batteries become larger or needed? And would there be any environmental issues in the future of what the land could be used for? In regards to fire suppression, would there be any fire suppression on site? I appreciate your background. And what if a feed is lost, meaning that ongoing feed because it is a remote location, which again, I'm familiar with of how that works in the energy field. And do appreciate the communication that the fire department has, at least checking in once a year. I would feel better personally if I was a neighbor at least twice a year, since this is so new, especially if something were to happen, because I look, if there was something to happen, because unfortunately, we all have to think of the worst-case scenario, which I know we don't want to, but I look at what the materials are and what are burning and what the fumes are.
Okay.
And I appreciate the noise factor. So fire suppression, height, and what the land could be used for more specifically. Thank you.
Yeah, good questions. I'll answer on the decommissioning of the system. The bylaw, your bylaw requires that we provide a decommissioning plan prior to the system being operated. So that's an obligation that we will have to meet and provide a detailed plan of how, at the end of the life of the project, that equipment is removed, and we have an obligation to restore the property to a condition that's similar to what's out there now. I'll let you handle the
We'll
other.
talk about the height.
Yeah.
Those are all great questions, thank you, and I'll face you. So there is no plan, and there's no, because it's not a conditional use permit, but it's conditions of the permit. We can't just come in and add batteries or change height. What we're presenting on the site plan is what it's gonna be for the life of the project. And if technology was to change and some magic bullet occurs, well, we would have to come back to the town and say, hey, something's changed, we wanna we wanna change it. But as far as height, width, all that, these batteries have been pretty much the same size since the inception, meaning what we can fit in a 5 by 29 container. So there'll be no change in height, there'll be no change in the structure. I don't know if Tesla is working on next generation, but if they are, it's gonna have to fit the tens of thousands of containers that are out there. If we lost feed, if we lost communication, if we lost auxiliary power, it goes into a safe state, it sends out the alerts. We have battery backup within the battery system, so it's got battery backup, so the brain stays energized. So that battery management system stays energized, so we know what's going on regardless of whether there's a local power outage or a failure. So that allows that communication to go out and say, hey, we have a problem with bank one, or we have a problem with the overhead wires, or we have a problem. So that's maintained all the time. The walkthrough, that's an easy fix. If people are more comfortable with the community, we can ensure that the fire department does walkthroughs twice a year. They can do it quarterly. That's not, it's a matter of meeting our techs, do a walkthrough, different shifts, different people, so the more firefighters that have hands-on. Initially, they'll all get hands-on. But if the community feels that that's a concern, that's not a problem, especially since you have such a robust system within Shrewsbury. We have a whole bunch of different firehouses and very active. It's not a rural volunteer fire department where it's, you're not sure who's gonna show up on any given day. So that's definitely doable. We talked about decommissioning, so a complete decommissioning plan, it comes back to what it was, right? Everything comes up, it goes back to dirt, gravel, whatever it was when we found it, and that's pretty much typical of anywhere, whether we're building here or elsewhere. There was one other question you asked and I don't remember. I was trying to write fast. Was there something else that I missed?
Those were all the items.
Okay.
Loss of feed from the camera?
No, he
Loss
mentioned
of
the
feed,
loss
yeah,
of
safe
feed.
state.
Yep,
Battery backup within it to keep the brain functioning.
yep.
On-site fire suppression.
There is no on-site fire suppression, nor do we, again, in the event of a catastrophic failure, we let it self-consume. We don't want to make a soup out of it. We don't want to throw water on it. We cool adjacent units. That's not a Dave Raines thing. That's NFPA, National Fire Protection, National Fire Academy. That's a standard whether you're in California or Maine. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the information that has been shared thus far and the questions that have been asked.
Can I just have you
Oh,
state
yeah.
your name? Yep.
My name's Manira Taha, so I live at 2 Cherry Hill Road, so that is the closest residential property to this site. And me and several of my neighbors on Cherry Hill Road, as well as Cherry Street, who represent the closest residential neighbors, do have some concerns when it comes to the safety of our neighborhood and the families that live there. Some of the questions have been answered already, but I still have some remaining ones as it pertains to safety. I understand that if there was a catastrophic failure, the would be allowed to kind of self-consume. But what are the possible emissions that could be released? Is there a public notification system? It didn't sound like there was. When there was a question, it seemed like the technician gets alerted, potentially the fire department gets alerted, but what are the risks? I know with the older generations of the batteries, when there was failures, there was days of the fire not being able to be contained. There was toxic emissions where nearby residences had to have emergency shelter-in-place orders put in place. And so in the past, with different batteries, I recognize, there was those risks to nearby residences, and this is newer, but I'd like to understand what potential risks may still exist.
Sure. You want me to answer that now, or are you gonna?
Please, yeah.
Okay, sure. So, with these particular batteries, when you look at the plume studies, and they're available online, at 100 feet downwind, at 15 feet, at 5 feet, 30 feet downwind, the VOCs are volatile organic compounds that we would worry about, okay, are zero when you get past 100 feet. We're letting it self-consume. We're letting any of the bad constituents burn up. We're not putting water on it. We're not creating that white cloud, okay? And with this stable chemistry, we don't have those metals and whatnot being released. So, from a firefighting perspective, there's more of a hazard of a car fire on Cherry Street or a structure fire emitting much more volatile organic compounds than we could ever do if this battery went crazy and it all burnt up. Now, with the propagation studies that we have to pass with UL Labs, it melts down. It's not a big ball flame. It's melting plastic. It self-contains. Each rack, there's 6 of them, I believe. Each rack has a firewall in between it. So that the idea of the propagation study is if rack A starts on fire, it doesn't go to B, C, D, and E, so then you only have one little section. Okay, yes, there's always a possibility that all of it will catch fire. We plan for that, right? So we have the active ventilation. We have a fireproof, basically, box that does allow the pressure to release from the top. But when you look at the plume studies, at 100 feet downwind, they're not getting any volatile organic compounds that you would be worried about either through the EPA or the Massachusetts Department of Health. Okay, you're going to see things like hydrogen. You're going to see things like hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, which is typical of combustion, of something burning. Okay, you're not going to get big flakes and chunks and things. This is not a Class A fire like you would have, God forbid, there was a house fire or a couch or a mattress. We're going to get those components, those carbonized, floating around and landing on things and starting other fires. This is not a Class A fire. So I hope that makes you feel a little more comfortable. And the fact it's a very stable chemistry. It's not what we've seen with e-bikes and some of those other videos we see. That's a very unstable chemistry that goes off like popcorn and goes all over the place.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. The other concern, part of it was on the noise pollution, so that was helpful to hear. But also just construction disruption. Again, the property, while the actual facilities on the northeast corner of the property, the full property is quite close to my house, and some parts of it are only just a driveway distance away. And so what's kind of the impact to the neighborhood as far as the plans for construction? Will there be mitigations as far as hours, dust control, things like that? Because there's families with kids who live on the street. And then the visual impact, it sounds like there's some mitigation measures as far as the vegetation. Behind that, there's fencing that is there. I don't know if there's full coverage, if it's partial coverage, so I think access to the images, I think would be helpful for the residents to get a full understanding of that. And then the other thing is, we're concerned about also, I guess, the property value impact as well, having this be so close to a residential area.
So I think I could probably touch on a few of those. So in terms of the construction hours, we do have a condition that requires, and this is on all projects, hours of operation to be from 7 to 7. And those are strict timelines that we keep, and exempt from holidays unless authorized by the police department. So we do have those strict requirements for operations. And again, we're requiring that condition that prior to construction, that there be that community meeting. At that point, we'll have likely a very robust construction plan of what exactly is meant to take place and when, and we can have that conversation with the residents to have a better understanding of what that could be anticipated as. We do also require that all the construction traffic be located on-site, not staging or anything off-site in the town road. The site currently is vacant, so anticipate that would be once the curb cut's put in, that's a.
In our, as Chris said, our intent, when we have the community meeting, we're gonna wait to the point where we have the contractor a record, so he or she can come out and be available, provide cell phone, provide contact information, so if there's any concerns, any issues that arise, you don't have to call the town, you can contact them directly and it'll be very responsive, and that's a normal course of business for what we do. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, this is only several month duration?
Yeah,
This
it's
is-
going to be done actually in 2 phases. The plan is to start the site work, and these sit on concrete pads, and to do that work this fall. And then there's a lead time to get the equipment on site, whether they're transformers or the batteries. So that, we may not be installing the actual equipment until sometime next year, like Q2, I would say.
And it's typically on-time delivery, so we'll have it'll be a small crane, a small lift crane, not a big erector set type crane. And as a battery, that'll be pre-planned, the crane will be set up, batteries will come on flatbeds, they'll be lifted up and put on the, to minimize this disruption. We try to do it in the tightest window possible, because it's more cost effective, only have the crane there for the day versus to drag that out. But again, we'll use all the dust mitigation measures when we do the site work. There's limited site work, there's some clearing. They'll be putting down gravel, pouring some concrete. You may hear some backup alarms, things like that. There's not rock hammering and blasting, none of that is gonna be required here.
Okay, that's helpful. Last question is, I would respectfully ask the board to consider an independent third-party risk assessment, just because there was a number of risks that have had to be taken into account for this process. And the information so far has been helpful, but understandably, the residents are still probably need some level of reassurance, because again, it is quite close to our homes. So if that is a possibility, I think that would be something that would be appreciated as well. And appreciate all the attention given to the matter thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wishing to speak on this item this evening?
Can I just ask one more clarifying question?
Sure, can you please come up to the mic?
J. Dean Gunn at 43 LeBlanc Road. Chris, just about the hours of construction, you said not on holidays. Is it also on Sundays?
Correct.
Okay,
Sundays and holidays, yeah.
okay, just to clarify.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, I think at this point in time, I'd like to see if the board is comfortable closing this public hearing this evening.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. We'll look at putting together a decision and having it for,
So we have a draft decision that is prepared, if the board is ready to vote on that this evening.
I haven't fully read through it yet. I've glanced through it. I would like to perhaps make a suggestion in terms of the conditions for during construction to add in an item related to dust control. I do think that that's a worthwhile notation to make. Other than that, I don't think that there were any other additions that I felt necessary. Does anybody else has that?
No, I thought the conditions as outlined were reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other?
No.
So I guess the question would be, is there a motion to vote on this item this evening
I make a motion to vote.
Yeah.
with that amend?
So, so that's what we can, once the motion is approved and seconded, as part of the discussion, I'll ask what that language should be, and we can incorporate that and print a new decision.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
As part of discussion, so we have the motion second.
Sorry.
Okay.
So as part of that
Language.
discussion, I want to capture
Sure.
that dust control condition that you
Yep.
mentioned, so. So which item is that?
Conditions to be met during construction that,
7 to 7. So construction operations shall be limited to Monday through Saturday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. There should be no work on Sundays or state and federal holidays.
something to the effect of the construction firm will be responsible for maintaining dust control during construction operations.
The
Or something to that effect. How much
The
sense you
applicant
get it?
shall
Yeah.
be responsible for maintaining appropriate dust control measures
Mhm.
during construction as determined by the building inspector.
Yeah. And it is captured in here that there is going to be a neighborhood outreach meeting.
Correct. So we have prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall conduct a public community outreach meeting in coordination with the planning department. The applicant shall be responsible for mailing notice of the meeting to addresses determined appropriate by the planning department, so.
Okay. So my items. All right, so we have a motion on the table in a second with these amended changes. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct.
So we can vote now, essentially. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, the proposed two-family and FAR up to 4.0 site plan and special permit. Mr. Amani, this is 9 Wolcott Road. I will say, just before we get started, we are taking this back up.
Correct, so we will need a vote to take this within the 2-year cool-down period, essentially, as provided in the Massachusetts general laws.
Okay, so can I, before we move forward, can I please get a motion to reconsider this vote within the 2-year cooling off period as outlined in Mass General Law? for reconsideration of this matter?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, so I think we have 2 votes that we're taking on this item this evening, one for the site plan and one for the special permit, is that correct?
Correct. So this process with that vote, this process essentially starts from the beginning, so we should read the legal notice and continue as normal as if it's a new hearing.
We don't
Okay.
have
I
any.
didn't have a legal notice for this one.
I read it last.
Oh, we did read this last
I
one,
did.
thank you.
Okay, so we don't need to, so.
Correct, it was continued.
Okay, right. So, at this point, can I, ask the board, members if there are any questions or comments on this application?
My only comment is, I voted against it because I was in agreement with Mr. Fitzgerald about the floor area ratio, and it was up. I didn't like the way the applicant proceeded on this project, but I'm not gonna, that's done. And my rationale at this point is, he's got his variances from the zoning board. Not thrilled with it, but again, it's up. And I would just say to the applicant, I guess I'll go along with this at this point, but don't come back looking for any modifications to what we're giving you, because what we're giving you is truly a gift.
And any other board member comments?
You know, essentially, and this has been, we've been discussing this for the past few months, it seems, but it's as if the criteria to meet or to approve the application, it just isn't allowed by the bylaw. And that's where it when it came across, from my seat, the bylaw says that it doesn't meet the criteria that's been established. And I didn't, you know, still don't have a real answer if any outbuildings were included on the floor area ratio, which according to the bylaw, they should be, sheds or any other outbuildings. I don't know. So my opinion hasn't changed since the last vote.
Understood. Any other board members wishing to speak on this matter?
No comments.
Okay. Chris, do we need to, because it's still a public hearing?
Yeah, so this would be a public hearing,
Okay,
correct?
correct. Are there other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter this evening? Yes, ma'am.
First, Dadine Gunnett, 43 LeBlanc Road. I have a question. What's happening here first? So I guess I'm a little confused as to what's happening.
So
So can
the-
you explain what the process is that's happening right now?
Chris, do you want to take a?
Yeah, so, what, the process that's happening is, the board voted to reconsider this under, MGL Chapter 40A, Section 16, which allows them to rehear, by a unanimous vote of the board, something that has previously been denied. So as mentioned, this was previously, it failed, on a split vote, to meet the criteria for an approval. The board has now entered into that reconsideration of the application under that Massachusetts General Law section, and it's a new public hearing process, similar as the applicant went through prior, but we're using the same record as was previously considered.
So there's no new information being entered? It's still the same
Correct.
information? We're just
Correct.
changing a decision?
So the board is reconsidering with the same information, so
Reconsidering,
the
changing
applicant,
the
so the applicant with that 40A, section 16, if you submit to the board that your application is substantially different, those are the two ways to proceed, is whether your application is either substantially separate from what the board already acted on, or the board takes a vote to reconsider their decision. So those are the two options to reconsider a previously failed decision of the board.
So this is, if I'm correct, this is over the floor area ratio. Correct? Most of
That
it?
is one of the criteria that the board is reconsidering for
Okay.
the approvals. The approval is for a site plan and a special permit to allow floor area ratio up to 4.0.
Which was drastically over the allowable. I have a question. There is a new structure on the property, a very, very large structure. But I don't know if it qualifies towards the floor area ratio. So I'm just
So
curious.
it does. So the applicant is proposing no new construction under this proposal. The applicant is proposing to utilize his existing structure. It was previously built for other use types that would not require any floor area ratio, but the change in use to the two-family requires that for.
No, I'm talking about another one he just built in the last month on the site. He just built a massive, pergola, so I don't know. I know sheds can be counted and other things. So there's like a massive 30, 40-foot pergola. So I don't know if, I'm just guessing. And I'm not just looking to cause trouble, but if we're looking to count all of the structures on this site, and we're trying to figure out and give the benefit of the doubt as to what's, and we're saying, hey, like, we're gonna let you go to the maximum allow, well, now, you just built another massive structure on your site. Like, is a pergola a massive pergola-looking thing? And also, it's in with wetland, like, the entire site is within the wetland 100-foot buffer zone. So, it just seems crazy to me to be reconsidering this when we're adding extra stuff on there.
Why don't we, if that's the case, why don't we kind of
We,
hold this for another month and have you or Machine go out and
Continue.
take a look?
There's stuff, walls being built along the power lines, there's,
okay, so I think, thank you. I think it might be worthwhile to have town staff conduct a site visit perhaps before we proceed on taking any action on this. So at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to continue this hearing on 9 Wolcott Road.
The applicant is here and they do have to agree to a continuance,
Oh,
so I would just
certainly.
ask for them to.
Good evening. Mr. Amani, what we're discussing is the idea of continuing this hearing this evening and not taking any votes on it until the town can go out to conduct a site visit to verify some items. I guess, as the applicant, are you willing to continue this public hearing until the
Yes,
next meeting?
Because I didn't make any wall, anything. Just I did some clean my yard and same as a greenhouse.
Okay.
It's not any wall, nothing. And I broke one of my shed, and they can come and look at it. One of my shed, I broke it, and I didn't put any wall, anything. And I have less now. And I'm trying to take out another place, shed. I had it before, and I want to broke it. I don't have any specific item to build.
Okay,
They can come and visit.
Okay.
If they can, next week will be second shed. Now one of shed, I don't have it no more. And one of another shed will be removed from there because before I didn't realize the yard will be too small, but now I try to make it wider and no any more construct.
okay. All right, so you're willing to allow for
Yeah.
continuance of this hearing? Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this public hearing until our next meeting?
I move that we continue the public hearing on the site plan approval and special permit for 9 Walcott Street until Thursday, September 4th at 7 PM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you.
Just I have a question. If I'm not doing any construction or any wall, I'm allowed to make a fence around the house or no?
I'll hide
Let's
the
talk
fence.
tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, proposed gas station site plan approval, Lake 20 LLC. This is for 193 Hartford Turnpike. Good evening.
Good evening. So for the record, my name is Donald O'Neill. I'm the lawyer in Worcester here this evening on behalf of Yatco Energy in connection with this property at 193 Hartford Turnpike. I believe at the last meeting we were at, we had presented, also joined by Bob Michaud from MDM Transportation Consultants. And at the last meeting, we had submitted some conceptual plans that had been requested to explore the issue that had been raised at the previous meeting about the possibility of a fourth lane being added to the Lake Street intersection with Route 20. And you recall that we had two different versions, I guess, options involved. Pretty much in terms of our property, it was very little difference between the two of them, and it related more to the other properties that would be involved on Lake Street. And the continuance at that time, as I understand it, was to allow for that to be reviewed by the town engineer, just to get his take on it. And I understand that there was a review that came back that I saw that was, you indicated that this would be good information to have, but that the process of that type of project would be pretty involved and would require, some combination of town, state involvement in order to complete something like that. So we had indicated that we were open as part of our obligation or conditions of approval that the property owner, in our case, was agreeable to basically donate that land, or make it available by way of an easement, if it was needed, in the event that that work was done. So in the interim, we have gone over with planning staff the proposed decision that's been circulating for a while, and did have some closure on that in terms of we're satisfied with the conditions now as proposed in the draft decision, and would be agreeable to those if the board were vote to approve the site plan.
Okay.
So, and Bob is here if you have any additional questions for him, but I'm not sure that we have anything else to present.
Okay, appreciate that. Do other members of the board have any questions, comments for Mr. O'Neill or?
I have no comments here, but I think some of our town departments were going to look at it, and I was wondering what the latest is on that, you know?
Yeah, so engineering did review the schematic designs that were provided, and they felt that those are essentially in line with what would be necessary for schematic designs. To the other points, a lot of the discussion, workshopping around language has focused around conditions 40 and conditions 46, which was the traffic monitoring and the coordination of a third lane on Lake Street. And so we've done some workshopping of the language with both the applicant and representatives of Demoulas, attempting to find something that is amenable. That language, after review, substantially what we're proposing, and the change there is to decouple this from the original language, kind of tied obligations between this project and the DSM property and their monitoring. The revised language of that condition 40 decouples that, so that both are required, or the applicant, Yatco is required to check in with the town and MassDOT on a status of DSM's obligations and monitoring. To the extent that there can be cooperation or reduced duplication of efforts within that process, it encourages that. But DSM would be beholden to the obligations under their specific permit, and this would set separate monitoring and traffic obligations under the Yatco permit, so it decouples that process. In terms of the additional lane, our language remains that the easements would be provided. We already have the schematic designs, but that's memorialized in the conditions. And then to the extent that traffic monitoring triggers a need for additional mitigation efforts, the board has the option of requiring commitments to the design and implementation of that additional lane in coordination, certainly with MassDOT as well.
Sorry. Okay. Does that?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. This is still a public hearing, so I'd like to ask if there's other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter this evening. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lou Savara. I'm an attorney. I work at Prince LaBelle, and I represent DSM in this matter. And I'll be brief. It's late, and I'll try to get to the point. And frankly, with more substantive information, Mr. Nagy is here to speak to the traffic issues, and will speak after I do. I'm new to this. My partner, Jared Fiore's been in front of you before. Pinch hitting for him today and had an opportunity to review all the letters, though. And it struck me, you folks have been dealing with this for quite some time, that the concerns over the traffic in this particular location have been carefully considered by this board and looked at in great detail. And I know a lot of information has been provided to you. And I feel sometimes, like if I'm trying a case, that if I say the same thing enough times, eventually people start to believe me. The board's been told repeatedly that the traffic's not going to be a problem, that these are all mitigating factors and they're going to be able to deal with it. Mr. Nagy is going to speak to the fact that that's simply wishful thinking. There's really no evidence being presented to the board that should make you comfortable with that result based upon what you've seen so far. We know that for the past time period that DSM has had continuing monitoring obligations, continuing efforts to mitigate issues created by traffic around Lake Street and on Route 20. We all know what a challenging area that is to drive on sometimes, and how many problems you've already, not problems, challenges, let me say, you've already had. And DSM has continued to work diligently and will continue to work diligently with the town and with the board to address all those things. But there's nothing in here, at least from our perspective, that really should make anybody comfortable that this isn't going to just exasperate the problem as opposed to solve it. And we can impose all of the wishful thinking we want about future monitoring and trying to deal with it down in the future. I think it's not a plan to say, I'm going to build this and look and see what things look like and then deal with it when we realize if there's a problem. That should be dealt with right now. So the plans, for example, that you've seen anticipate construction over property that this applicant doesn't own. We can't sit here today and see that as a potential solution because we can't even, not even my guarantee, we can't reasonably predict the fact ever having the opportunity to make the correction that the proposed plans are showing. You just can't hope for that as part of a plan. So we're here to ask the board not to grant this special permit. Certainly at this meeting, that there's further work, further information, further support that needs to be provided by this applicant before you can do that. I'd like to add one other thing. Tonight, we were handed the new draft. We've never seen this before, the new language. It speaks about my client. It talks about my client. We've had no input into that language. So regardless of my prior points, we really would like the opportunity to be able to review this language and have input into it, like you've given them opportunity in the past to do, before any vote is taken. So on both of those bases, we'd ask that the decision not be granted, that you not approve the planning, the special permit tonight, and give us an opportunity to deal with these things. With that, I think it would be helpful to the board to hear from Mr. Nagy about some of the ongoing concerns, even with the concept plan that's been provided. So with your permission, I'll ask him to speak to you now, and thank you.
Thank you, Lou, and for the record, Rob Nagy with VHB. I think we, starting on the basis of the beginning of this, we've seen some progress as this project has moved along, and we do commend the applicant for coming in and talking about the issues that we saw with the Route 20 driveway design. They came back, they proposed to make that a right turn out only driveway, which is something that we wanted to see. We were concerned about the safety at that location, and the plans that they presented at that time were consistent with what we were hoping to see out there with the barriers. And we hope and expect that that will be part of the application that they make with MassDOT as they move through that process. And we're really comfortable with that, and we do want to sort of start on a good note by commending them on that. The other issue, the issue that's always sort of plagued us and concerned us as it relates to Lake Street is the introduction of the driveway there. We continue to see concerns with that driveway in a number of different ways, and we've heard from them, from the applicant, in a number of different ways that there's not going to be any material impact at that location. But we continue to see the fact that the traffic queues at that location from the signal continuously back up past the driveway, the proposed location of where that driveway is going to be introduced. And from that perspective, we continue, we're hoping that we were going to see something along the way that sort of introduced some sort of mitigation, some sort of idea that was going to reduce the queue of traffic at that and allow traffic to exit the driveway from the Yatco development onto Lake Street via left turn that would operate well and not have to force their way into the queue of traffic that stopped at that light on a regular basis during the morning and during the evening. The concept of the driveway design kind of flies in the face of typical design standards when you think about driveways that are being introduced close to a traffic signal. Federal Highway Administration, for example, suggests that driveways should not be placed in the influence area next to a signal. The influence area meaning how far away does the queue back up? Do you really want to put a driveway in a location that's going to have to force its way in? Almost consistent with exactly what is being proposed here, and something that we want to make sure is done and thought well. A full access driveway at that location is the concern. Left turning movements trying to force their way into the queue there. In fact, the town's own peer reviewer did raise this in their final comment letter on their March 28th memo, and I'll quote from it. It basically says, The applicant should include mitigation measures to reduce the vehicle queuing along Lake Street and explore additional improvements at the Lake Street driveway to improve operations for vehicles exiting the site. To date, we really haven't seen any concrete proposals to respond to that comment. We've heard that there's concerns, there's going to be actions that are being taken by DSM to improve that location, and continuing to work with the town to try to update the traffic signal timing there and the lane striping, but that's not intended to solve the problem of the applicant in front of you here today. And that's really where our concern lies. We want to make sure that what we're doing is in the benefit of the town and the customers, certainly, that are going to be coming to and from DSM, and that's essentially what their concern is. We're not here to address the concerns and issues being presented by this project. As Lou mentioned, we were temporarily pleased to see the concept plan that was presented with the 3 lanes on Lake Street and with 1 entering lane, the 4-lane cross-section there. But that pleasantry was kind of pulled back when we saw that was just a concept plan and that there was no plan to move that project forward. We do agree with them that there is opportunities to do things. There's some certainly challenges that go along with that plan from a right-of-way perspective, but not something that we think can be sort of tackled in the short term, certainly by this project, and certainly not the burden of DSM on this. And I think that gets to some of the concerns that were raised about the current or the conditions that were sort of presented to us earlier tonight. So with that, I guess that's sort of our continued concern here. We continue to see the driveway as being the focal point. If you're adding additional traffic at that location into a location that could create additional safety issues, that's where we ultimately are concerned about, and that's their interest, as it's their customers as well as the residents. We're going to be using that approach, and we want to make sure that that's well thought out and well designed as we go through this. So, with that, Lou, I don't know if you have any follow-up closing comments, but that.
Only the board has questions. But
Yeah, certainly have the opportunity to answer questions here if you have any. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I respond?
Certainly.
The reason there's traffic queuing there is because, to my knowledge, the DSM has done nothing since they opened to try and alleviate that problem. They are being monitored. There's been some discussion about resignaling and some line striping, all of which are pretty minor, easy things to do. And for whatever reason, they haven't been done yet. And that's the reason for the queuing. Has nothing to do with our project, which hasn't even been built. The numbers that we submitted through our traffic consultant showed that this is not the main driveway or by any stretch to this property. It's an ancillary driveway basically, and the numbers that it would be generated are pretty small. And the analysis that was done on our end showed that even with no improvements, even if Market Basket DSM never gets around to resignaling or restriping that intersection, we're not going to have an appreciable impact on that intersection. If we do, we're being monitored. And then we have to take corrective measures. I mean, one corrective measure would be entrance-only driveway, and there's no cars going through the intersection at all. But I think the better way to do this, we feel that there will be no impact that would necessitate going to that type of a solution. But if that were to be a problem in terms of we underestimated the number of vehicles that are using it, that would be one of the solutions that could be considered, and that would be one of the solutions that might be implemented. But the small number of cars that come from this project, should not in any way detract from the fact that everyone knows where all the other cars are going, basically. And to say that, I mean, this property actually has frontage on Lake Street and Route 20. And this property, people who own the property have the right to use their frontage to get to the road. I mean, that somebody's on the opposite side of Route 20 is opposing their use of their own frontage. So it seems to be, to us, that whatever we do will never be enough. And clearly this business about redesigning the intersection to add a fourth lane, that was never anything. We've had peer review from the town. We've had Mass DOT's looked at this. They've approved it. No one's ever suggested that for the couple of cars that you're gonna add to this situation would trigger the need or responsibility for you to redesign the intersection and, implement something basically to solve somebody else's problem. And if we do cause a problem, we'll know in short order, and we will be required under the proposed language with the monitoring to take corrective measures. And if there is no problem, then there is no problem. I think the solution is there if this turns out to be something which exacerbates the existing conditions. But to put the onus on this applicant to solve this problem, which they've contributed nothing to, and expect that they won't contribute anything that would affect any of the queuing that's basically going on. We haven't seen any challenge to the analysis that we did in terms of the numbers that were presented, other than just statements saying, you're underestimating. And feel that, that we've had all the objective, independent reviews look at what we've presented, and they've been satisfied with what we've presented. And I think the first major thing that's been done with respect to that intersection is the offer by the applicant and the property owner to donate the land that would be necessary for an easement if that were to take place, so that, the town wouldn't be involved in eminent domain takings or anything of that nature. We're very happy to cooperate, would love to see, an improved traffic situation, and if we can contribute in that fashion by offering up the land for an easement, given our projected impact on this intersection problem, I think that's really is sufficient, in terms of a contribution from this applicant to somebody else's problem. And if we cause a problem, as I say, the monitoring will detect that, and we'll be held accountable, and we'll have to deal with it. And there are solutions to dealing with it that don't involve redesigning and building a brand-new intersection. That's not a solution that we would choose. So we're hoping, we've had it's been a long process. Part of it was due to the fact of the change in board members and the, having to refile and start over again, and so on and so forth. But, we feel that we've been responsive to requests that we've received. There have been changes that we've made, at the suggestion of the board or your engineers, and we've really tried to satisfy you, completely. And in terms of, I think we've made modifications to the plan. I think those actually, it's a good process. Those do, I think, improve the overall plan. But it really is, I think it's at the point where you have the information that you need. It's a little unusual for an opponent of a project to want to get an opportunity to review the board's decision, you know, before it's, takes a vote on it. And have some input into the decision itself, because, you know, the decision as it stands now provides for both parties to maintain their own monitoring. If there's an overlap, then you have simultaneous monitoring. And that each party remains responsible for their own traffic or problems that they create. They're their problems, they're not somebody else's problems. And I think that's perfect. I mean, if the monitoring is going on simultaneously, then we can compare notes and make sure that both of them have coming up with the same information. So I think it is time for us really to get a decision. And I don't know what else we could do realistically other than what we've already done, and the notion that somehow that we're supposed to come back with a complete redesign of an intersection for the minimal traffic that's going in that direction, which could be redirected if it needed to be, it goes beyond the scope of, I think, the site plan review process for this location.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter this evening? Yes, sir.
Tony Bonaventura, 120 Howe Ave. I have one question first. The existing lot where this is proposed, isn't there already a driveway opening onto Lake Street?
There is. Is there a curb cut on Lake Street as it is today, as there stands today? Without me knowing, like, standing there right now.
There is
Yeah, I've driven through there. There is one.
Yeah, there is one
Okay.
exactly where the new, roughly where the new one is going to go.
Okay.
They put Jersey barriers over there. At one time, they were using it to bring, I believe, use it as a storage place for fill in recent times. So there is a driveway opening there. And I would think that gives these folks a little bit more leeway with an existing driveway already there. So I'm pretty happy with everything that they've said. I've had a lot of time to think about it. Obviously, more traffic is going to make a little more congestion there. But as they've stated, the problem was entirely created by the market basket and residential complex that was built there. So there was a driveway at this site. And I'm not affiliated with these guys in any way, shape, or form. So it's very unusual for me to be doing this, but I think we're looking at the wrong party. With the Demoulas development, and again, there's more than just a supermarket. There's a lot of residences there. They created that intersection. There wasn't an opening on Route 20 where they created this intersection. There wasn't even a driveway there. That was entirely created by that development. So I don't know how the traffic monitors, they're kind of complaining about traffic monitoring, they haven't done anything, and they're worried about additional traffic. Well, they haven't fixed theirs, and they created a problem. It's very disappointing to me that, and I don't know how this gets conveyed, that these folks have actually tried to help the situation. They've extended an olive branch, if you will, to Demoulas, and instead of them working with the town and working on the problem cooperatively, they, seem to be complaining about a driver that's already there. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think that these folks have done a good job, and I think that hopefully the other party will do what they're supposed to do, and whatever the town can do to
Thank you. Thank you.
move that forward would be appreciated.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So I just wanted to clarify some items, the discussion of just the representation that DSM has done nothing in terms of traffic monitoring. They are operating within their monitoring obligations, and they have done some mitigation efforts related to that, which is coordinated through DPW and MassDOT. So that is ongoing, and that is, they are cooperating with the town in terms of their monitoring obligations. So I did want to clarify that. And then additionally, in terms of the concept versus design, I just wanted to reiterate the process. I think that we've been kind of clear on, is that the intent is to have the easements provided to the town that the property owner currently before us controls. Those be provided by the town prior to construction. The schematic design to be provided to the community prior to construction. And then triggering those additional benefits or the additional infrastructure commitments as an option for the board to consider should their monitoring trigger obligations of them. So similar to where the post-occupancy of DSM's property has triggered some mitigating efforts required. Likewise, the applicant, under their own monitoring, will have to do that. Again, part of this most recent revision, and I know that the board is seeing this language for the first time this evening as well, but part of that decoupling, we are looking to really have where those two monitoring obligations can talk and can benefit each other. We're encouraging that. I don't think we can go so far as to require them to work together on their obligations. So if we have both of those going on in tandem, so be it. And additionally, we're looking to have, in that condition language, we are proposing or suggesting, I guess, that those, at least Yatco's, differentiate traffic generation from their project versus existing conditions as a portion of showing that their impact and DSM's impact are their own, and separating that out for the board during that monitoring process. So that language is included. That would include the, I forget the technical terms here. So, yeah, so analysis, so origin, destination analysis, or driveway-specific counts as appropriate to assign those responsibilities based on the actual site-specific activity. So, again, we're really trying to separate these two projects, make the obligations of one related to their project and proportional to their project impacts, and separate out DSM from the obligations mentioned in this decision.
Okay, understood. All right, great, thank you. At this point, I do feel as if we have kind of exhausted the items by which we can, I do appreciate that there has been a great deal of information and a great deal of discussion along this. At this point, I would like to close this public hearing, if the board so wishes to do so, and then perhaps I would like to be able to review this a little bit more without, I'm not comfortable taking a vote on this evening. I think that there's still some review that needs to occur on it, but at this point, I don't find there to be any other reason to keep this public hearing open. So I guess I'd like to
Move to close the meeting.
move to close the public hearing on this matter.
I move to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, at this point, I think we will work on putting together a decision on this matter and hopefully have a decision ready for a vote at the meeting on whatever the heck date, Thursday, September 4th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
All right, on to new business this evening. First item is to discuss and deliberate on the 1 Brookdale Circle decision for the special permit. Chris, do you want to?
Yeah, so this decision is related to the Brookdale Circle permit request for the in-home business for Spice, the Spice business. It's an in-home business. The board closed the public hearing at the last meeting, and we do have a draft decision prepared.
Okay. Is there any questions, comments on the decision that we have in front of us this evening for 1 Brookdale?
I wasn't present, and I didn't watch it, so.
No,
No question.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. I do believe, also, we were provided, prior to the meeting this evening, the Board of Trustees did take their vote on this for a 1 year. Is that
Correct. So we did have a condition in there that be provided to us. I did receive a notice this evening of that. Again, it's outside of the public hearing process, but
Sure, sure.
we did receive that, so that condition would be satisfied.
Excellent. All right, can I get a motion to accept can I get a motion on the special permit for 1 Brookdale Circle?
I move that 1 Brookdale Circle special permit be approved.
Yeah, sure. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Do I?
You don't have to poll them?
Sorry.
We need to take an
Paul?
individual vote?
No, no, no.
Okay.
No.
All right, approved. Next item is discuss and deliberate 1 Abbey Lane, 579 and 585, thank you. 585 Lake Street, decision for site plan approval modification.
I was not there.
Chris?
So this was the project for the deck off of the property at 1 Abbey Lane. So this is an over 55 project. So, as was kind of discussed, this is part of a larger project. This deck feature is minor in comparison. We've included decision language that this deck is, still, in keeping with the larger project, but it does not negate any of the outstanding items that still have to be addressed as part of that project. So that project is still ongoing. Some closeout items are required. This is being considered, not separately, but does not negate those obligations.
Okay. Is there a motion on the decision for 1 Abbey Lane?
I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving site plan modification for 1 Abbey Lane, please say aye.
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 I abstain.
Great. Approved. Thank you. Next item, discuss and vote to correct the decisions for 369, 377 Holden Street site plan approval.
So this project, the board will recall, we made some edits to the decision the night of the project. After it was voted on, we did note, and the applicant brought to our attention a number of scrivener's errors. They're very minor in nature and not substantial to the project as a whole, but nonetheless, we are putting them before the board for their review and approval to correct that decision.
Okay. Is there a motion to correct the decisions, correct the items in the decisions for 369, 377 Holden Street site plan approval?
I move that we vote to correct the decisions of the board at the June 2025 hearing as set forth in the vote to correct decision of the planning board regarding application for special permit 369, 377 Holden Street.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We got a poll on this
We
one?
need to full on that one?
Yes, we do.
Okay, yes, sorry. Matt,
Yes. Yes.
Dino, Perna,
Yes.
Yes.
Steve,
I'm in favor, yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, great. Next item is discuss and vote on planning board delegate and alternate to the CMRPC.
Yep, so annually, the CMRPC delegates need to be designated. So this is for CMRPC. The community does receive technical assistance hours in relation to events that these delegates attend, up to a maximum of, I believe, it's 12 hours. So we do regularly and are currently working with CMRPC, utilizing those hours for a number of initiatives that help us in our planning process and analysis and town-wide goals. So it is an important piece of our operations in coordination with our regional planning agency. So in terms of obligations, they do have regular meetings, but obligations are to attend at least the annual and biannual, so 2 meetings a year, and the annual does typically feature a very nice dinner, so that's my pitch for that.
All right, is anyone interested in serving as a delegate to the CMRPC?
I'd volunteer for it,
Thank you, Tim.
if that's okay with the rest of the board.
They need an alternate?
They do need an alternate as well.
I'll be the alternate.
Wonderful.
I think I was the alternate the last time, and remember you and I went to one
Yeah,
meeting, then
yeah.
COVID hit, and I
Yeah.
stopped going. Whatever.
Yeah, I've been the delegate for quite some
Yeah.
time, so.
All right, so can I get a motion to appoint Tim Fitzgerald as our delegate to CMRPC and Steve Rotalakis as our alternate?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. Next item, discuss and vote on the bond issuance for 3369 Green Street.
Thank you. So this is for the project at 39 to 69 Green Street. This is the bond issuance for the essential utilities and infrastructure that's being proposed as part of that project. The amount is $42,660, and we have received that bond amount. So
Okay.
this would secure that.
Okay, great. Any questions, concerns? Is there a motion to accept the bond issuance for 3369 Green Street?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Next item, discuss and vote on bond reduction for Summit Ridge Estates. Get some money
It's
to
the
go
line.
right out.
This, I got on the board, I think, and this was one of the first subdivisions we approved. I think it goes back to 2000 or 2001.
Really? Wow.
Yes. And, you know, I bet you the town has already repaved sections, accepted sections of Summit Ridge Estates. It's kind of mind-blowing that they're doing, segmenting it this way, but, okay.
Right. Yeah, so this project, there's essentially a number of bonds in place, but cumulatively, certainly a substantial amount of work has been completed. I do know that, you know, within the last several days, that a number of, you know, the engineering department and site inspector have been working to coordinate in terms of the bond reduction amount. So this was on the agenda previously, but we did not have the dollar amount, and I asked the board to pass over that. At this time, we do have a bond amount, and the field inspector has verified that amount is appropriate with the level of work. I do need to confirm that with the Department of Public Works as well, and the town engineer, just to ensure that the basis of that is in keeping with what they want to see ultimately being responsible if they had to finish up the work, which we don't see. The applicant's making significant progress to that, but I would ask for the board to hold that one more month, and we
Okay.
certainly will be able to have that by the next month, so.
Okay. So we'll plan to hold.
We don't need a vote
We
on
don't
that.
need to vote.
Not this
the whole
evening.
thing. Yep. Okay, wonderful. Next item is correspondence. I'll just make note that we have received correspondence from Prince Lobel on 193 Hartford Turnpike, as well as additional correspondence related to 297 Cherry Street. So, at this point, hold on, script here.
That's it.
The next order of business is to enter into an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to ongoing litigation, which discussion, if held in open meeting, would have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the planning board. As this is the last item on the agenda this evening, we will not reconvene in open meeting at the conclusion of this executive session. So for this action, I require a majority vote of the members, and this is a required roll call vote. Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
Pranav?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Tim?
I'm in favor, yes.
And I'm in favor as well.
We have to conclude the public hearing? Yes.
I think by announcing that we will not reconvene.
Okay.
It's satisfied that we'll adjourn at the end of this.
All right, so having received a majority vote of the planning board, will now enter into executive session, after which we will adjourn and not reconvene into an open meeting.
So I've been asked that we'll move into conference room A for
Oh,
this.
okay.
Thank you.